first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. We're going to our live shot right there. That's our ski bowl camera. There's an amazing shot of Mount Hood and of course Mount Hood National Forest up on there. You know what could be in there though, right now, roaming around? Bigfoot. We're going to be talking about that. Hello everyone. Now again, this is Fox 12 Now. So we are live streaming here every weekday starting at 1 p.m. Pacific. We are on Facebook, YouTube, our website, and our apps, and we cover a wide range of topics here on the show. So thank you for finding us. I do recommend that you download the Fox 12 Oregon app. Great way to watch all the programming that we have on here. Of course, everything else from Fox 12 Oregon. I did say wide range of topics, and that is what we're talking about today. So I and the team headed out to the North American Bigfoot Center in Boring, Oregon. It's where 212, 226 meet, and this place is amazing, or 224, excuse me, where 224 and 212 meet. And we spoke to the purveyor of the North American Bigfoot Center, and that is Cliff Barackman. Now, you may know him from Finding Bigfoot. If you watch that, whether you're a believer or not, this place is really incredible. I would say it's a must place to go to check out, and that's what we wanted to do. So we're gonna go ahead and play this adventure of ours here for you. We'll come back afterward and talk about it. I will say, we speak to Cliff for a while. We got a quick tour. We asked him for a quick tour just because we could have spent all day there, but he gave us a few highlights towards the end of this interview, so you'll see that. That's why we go through it a little bit quickly there, but this is a great look at something that's very, very Northwest oriented. Let's go ahead and play it right now. Here it is, the North American Bigfoot Center. Everybody, we are here at the North American Bigfoot Center in Boring. As you can see behind me, already found one, so that part's out of the way. But we're going to be going in and talking to Cliff Barackman, who is the purveyor of this. You probably know him from Finding Bigfoot and a lot of other things Bigfoot related. So he's going to give us a little bit of a tour. We're going to talk to him about his history with it. So let's go ahead and find Bigfoot. Well, Cliff, here we are, the North American Bigfoot Center. This is absolutely incredible in here. We're gonna walk around and take a look at this, but something I wanted to talk to you about. You know, you've had this illustrious career in searching for Bigfoot, finding Bigfoot, obviously 9 seasons, I think, 9 seasons of that and everything else. When did it all start for you, though? What age were you when you decided you wanted to learn more about Bigfoot?
Well, I've always been eccentric. I've always been the weird kid, right? I remember being just a little boy and being interested in monsters in general. And to me at the time, Sasquatch was just another monster. I would see it on things like In Search Of, you know, those schlockumentaries of the 1970s. Right. And I've always had those eccentric interests. But fast forward a few decades, I found myself in college with a few-hour break between classes with nothing to do. So I would go into the library and pull books off of the shelf in subjects I was interested in, mostly science. One day I found myself in the anthropology section and I ran across a couple different books that were compilations of scientific journal articles written by anthropologists on Sasquatches. Some of the stuff was written by cultural anthropologists talking about how the native cultures of the Pacific Northwest and North America in general all describe the same sort of animals. And some of the stuff was written by physical anthropologists talking about how the footprints themselves are not just blown up versions of human feet, there are differences. And those differences happen to be, coincidentally, I guess, the necessary biomechanical redesigns of the foot to carry a mass of their size. And when you start reading about the actual evidence done by scientists, you know, produced by scientists about Sasquatch, after a while it seems far more likely that there's a real animal behind all this instead of some hoax that happens to fit together like a jigsaw puzzle by different people in different places all those years. Right. It's actually more reasonable that there's a biological reality behind it than this whole thing is a hoax.
So it really was those scientific books, that's where you decided to make that switch into you wanted to go search for Bigfoot or to start looking for it.
Yeah, so I'm a science advocate, and the evidence convinced me.
The evidence of they had done, this research. So you go from there. I mean, that's one step to be reading about it. That's another step to start going out and start looking for Bigfoot and then eventually have a television show where you're looking for Bigfoot. I mean, how does that progression work?
Well, I was already backpacking and camping and doing all those things anyway. I've done that all my life. And at the end of the day, Bigfooting is essentially camping with a purpose. So I decided to go camping in places where Sasquatches had been seen before. And honestly, I just kind of got lucky. The first time out, I found potential footprints and some weird things happened and stuff. And I was hooked immediately. And since that time, and that was back in 1994 when that happened. So this is my 30th year of doing this. And ever since then, I've spoken to thousands of witnesses. I've found and cast footprints. I've recorded the animal's vocalization. I've seen one, maybe two of them. Yeah, it has just been steamrolling ever since.
Tell me about that experience. You've seen one. Can you tell me where that was that happened?
We were filming Finding Bigfoot, it turns out. One of our very, very first episodes that we filmed was in North Carolina. We were at a location about maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles off trail. We were there at about 2 in the morning. There have been several observations of Sasquatches at that location, including a bunch of other stuff like sounds and rocks being thrown and weird stuff, you know, that indicated they might be there. And we were filming basically, and we were on break. Basically, Matt Moneymaker, looked up on the hill. There was something on the hill. I mean, he literally says that at the beginning of every Finding Bigfoot episode. There's something on the hill, you know, and that's what we saw. And what I saw through a thermal imager that night was it was a human-shaped thing, one color head to toe. Now, thermal imagers see heat, right? It was February in the mountains. This was one color head to toe. If you were wearing a jacket, that jacket would look a different color than your face because of the amount of heat radiation out of it, right?
Gotcha.
So it was one color head to toe. The thing was navigating a wooded hillside without a light at 2 in the morning, and we tried to get close to it, and it quickly outdistanced us, even though we had flashlights and night vision and all that stuff. So that's what I saw. I mean, I guess there's a small chance it was a person, but it seems very unlikely at this point.
Yeah, going through the evidence that you're talking about with that. So looking at it, you know, we're here in the Northwest, you know, and this is where the North American Bigfoot Center is. So talking about Bigfoot in the Northwest, why is it, do you think, that it's not seen more often if there is a Bigfoot out there?
Sasquatches are seen quite frequently, actually. That's one of the things people say to me all the time. Why aren't they seen more? Well, I think the question is, why don't you hear about it? You know, frankly, that's what it comes down to. I have positioned myself at a place where my antenna is quite large, you know, and people are attracted to it like a moth to a light, because this is a safe place. I have seen a Sasquatch. I know they're real. Most people, if you tell them you've seen a Sasquatch, they're going to say, what are you drinking? Are you hallucinating? Are you whatever? But people see them far more often than you would ever imagine. For example, in 2024, we're filming this beginning of March. In 2024 so far, I know of 3 observations of Sasquatches and 1 footprint find. And most of those happened between the last week of January and the middle of February.
And this is all around here?
Yeah, locally. I'm not even talking about stuff in Kentucky or wherever else. Now, all of that stuff is spitting distance from where we stand right now.
Right. And so these are people that are out there who have encountered this right here locally.
Yeah, and I've done follow-up investigations on 2 of the 3 sightings, and in both of those cases, I found and cast footprints in the ground.
So with people here in the Northwest who obviously have the opportunity to get out to the outdoors pretty easily, I mean, we're really close, even right here, you know, you could go camping a few miles away from here. What would you recommend for people who wanted to go out and try what you did there in the beginning, be an amateur Bigfoot hunter, or what do they look for? You know, what are the tips for that?
Well, I think every good Bigfooting trip actually starts at home. You should do your homework. You should read books about the subject. TV, look, I was on a TV show for a long time, and you work on TV, but frankly, TV is a shallow, superficial medium at best, right? You should always read books about the subject and do a little bit of research before you go. Not only for safety reasons, but also to go to the area. If you're interested in encountering a Sasquatch, look at where other people have encountered them and go there. But I would say probably the best thing I can say about it is go to the woods for another reason besides Bigfoot, because Bigfoots are very, very rare animals. Most of my time in the woods, Bigfoots are not there. I find stuff rarely, but occasionally. But if you go for a different reason, like you're fishing or mushroom hunting or camping with your family, if you do that, if that is the goal, you'll come back successful every time. But if you go for Bigfoot, you're going to come back as a failure almost every time.
Right, that does kind of make sense. So set yourself a different goal, but do that research and do that. What are the main things to look for if you are out there doing something else? What's the one thing you think you're most likely to find?
Well, I think that you'd be most likely to hear something unusual that you can't identify. Now, that might be on you, just not being familiar with the sounds in the woods. But there are some telltale sounds that they do make. For example, we call it knocking. I suspect they're clapping, because that's a known gorilla behavior, and Sasquatches are great apes of some sort. So if you hear loud sounds in the woods, that might be a Sasquatch, particularly at night, especially like really, really loud ones. You can imagine Babe Ruth hitting a tree with a bat sort of thing. That kind of thing would be a very telltale sound that one might be nearby. Or long sort of like deep vocalizations like that, almost like a person yelling in the woods, but you have to be sure that it's not a person yelling in the woods. So.
Yeah, they're definitely, could be one or the other, I guess, when it comes down to that. Well, let's talk about where we're at right now. We've got here, obviously, representation right behind us. We're at the North American Bigfoot Center. So what was the goal of starting this?
Well, when the TV show went off the air, I decided, well, I could go back to elementary school teaching, but I'm having such a good time with the Bigfoot thing, and I'm so interested in these animals. That's what really drives me. It's my curiosity about the animals and my love for the subject in general.
Right.
I decided, well, I don't see any other Bigfoot museums around here, and there really ought to be, because so much stuff happens here. So I decided to open up the North American Bigfoot Center because I saw a need, essentially, because the animals are, in fact, real. And I don't think TV or the media does a really good job representing it. Most of the stuff on the internet's fake, but they're actually real animals. So I wanted to have a place where I could do three things. Number one is educate the public about these animals. Number two is do field work based on the information that the local people are bringing me. When somebody sees one yesterday, I want to go out today, you know? And then finally, the third thing, which is probably the most important work that we do here, is a lot of the early Bigfooters lived in the Pacific Northwest, and a lot of those people are either dead or they're kind of on their way out. And what happens to the research collection when they pass away? A lot of the research collection gets thrown away, whether that's newspaper clippings or sighting reports or photographs or casts. I wanted a place where people who knew that this stuff was important, they can bring those things and they can perhaps donate them, arrange something with us so we can preserve them and curate them for future generations. Because since I know Sasquatches are real animals, that means discovery, if you want to call it that, is inevitable. It will happen. And all of this pre-discovery work is going to be of great historical interest someday. And we are the only ones that I'm aware of that are working to preserve that.
Do you have people bringing those into you? People from all over the place bringing you their artifacts, their research, their papers, their parents or whoever, hands it down to them?
Absolutely. Last week we got a research collection from somebody who did a lot of newspaper clippings and whatnot throughout the early 1970s and 1980s. The week before that, a gentleman who lives on the coast actually went out and hoaxed footprints in the 1970s, and he brought us his fake stompers that he used. And by doing a little sleuthing, I have actually tied those fake stompers to some footprints that were cast in 1974. So yeah, information and artifacts are coming to us all the time.
Wow. Well, let's take a look at some of this here, because I do want to showcase this amazing center that you do have here. There's a lot going on in here. Can we take a look at a couple of the main things you want to show us? Yeah,
it's pretty cool. You're going to dig it.
Awesome.
This is an original research map from the Blue Mountains, a guy named Paul Freeman, who got this Sasquatch footage right here. This was his research map where he put all the footprints and locations and sightings and everything that he found on it. And he used this data to find a pattern that Sasquatch stuff was always found at this time of year, at this location. He went there, and within a month, he obtained this footage.
So he just went there and camped out?
No, he would go every single morning. And he worked overnight. He worked nighttime hours. He was a butcher. He got off at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and then he would go there after work every day and look around.
That is wild. These were sightings that everybody else had, so he just put it all together.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. And that's an original print from him. This is from the location, and we are the curators of his entire research collection, by the way.
That's amazing. There's so many prints in here too. We just looking around and seeing all this.
There's all the ape hands here represented: gorilla, orangutan, chimpanzee, human, bonobo, and Sasquatch. So that's kind of interesting. Those are Shaquille O'Neal's shoes, because people say that they're probably just big human feet. No, those are Nike was courting Shaquille O'Neal briefly to be a brand representative. They made him a pair of shoes. He showed up to the place out in Beaverton, played basketball in them, decided he didn't like them, left the shoes. They left the campus. They somehow ended up at a friend of mine. He donated them to me. But the point is, his feet are as long as a typical Sasquatch print, but Sasquatch prints are 1/3 wider than Shaq's.
Wow.
Of interest.
That says a lot right there.
Yeah. This is a model of a Sasquatch nest. A group on the Olympic Peninsula found some nests out there. They brought in biologists. The biologists went, I don't know what the hell that is, but we also found rocks right next to one of the nests that you can clearly see have been hit together. There's score marks on them. And Sasquatches have been visually observed hitting rocks together. Bears don't do that. Right. So we strongly think that these are Sasquatch nests. So what they did is they deconstructed one of these nests and then they found out how it was made, and then they did an experiment, like what would it take 3 guys who are using the same methods to construct a nest? How hard would it be? And they did that, and that's what they did. Then they donated it to the museum afterwards. I went to the nest site. We found footprints underneath the nesting material. It's not a very good print, but there's a toe, 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 and toe, and toe. There's 5 toes right there, and it comes right here. We also found handprints at the location.
Okay.
So, of great interest. All these are from the same trackway here outside of Walla Walla, Washington.
Yeah, these are all Northwest.
All Northwest.
What is it about the Northwest that makes it such a hotbed for all of this?
Well, I mean,
Is it because people are out, or is
a lot
the
of
habitat? Okay.
Yeah, basically. I mean, Sasquatches like black bear are essentially a continent-wide distribution of the species, you know? But in the Pacific Northwest, we have a lot of habitat. And also kind of slanting the table our direction, all the early researchers lived here. So it's kind of like the victor gets to write the history of the war.
Gotcha.
Well, the early researchers all lived here and they wrote the early books. So everybody associates Sasquatches with the Pacific Northwest for that reason. But honestly, they live throughout the continent where there's suitable habitat.
So how long do you think it'll be before, I mean, if you had to estimate, before there's like a concrete proof, I don't know whether that's a body or whatever.
I thought it would have happened by now, honestly, but it hasn't. But we're living in a very unique time. There's actually, there right now is the first time ever in all history that there's a university-sponsored unknown DNA study. And the guy who kind of put it together is doing it kind of because he thinks Bigfoots might be real. And I'm working very closely with him because we get a lot of fresh information. We're looking into new technologies like eDNA, for example, where you test the environment and see what kind of animals live in that environment. You know, you can get all like flying squirrels and elk and everything else. The hard part is narrowing down to primate at this point. You know, there's a very, very expensive process and the money isn't there. But we're getting such stuff, with such frequency and such quality that we're now working pretty closely with that university in order to get fresh footprints that were made in the last 2 or 3 days, sampling the dirt or snow on which it was left, and then getting this stuff to the lab as quickly as possible. So there's a chance that I'd like to think that we could do this, you know? I'm kind of gung-ho on this at the moment because usually like science needs this and then all the researchers try to satisfy those needs. It occurred to me this week that like, well, we're getting this, and for the first time scientists are adjusting what they're doing to satisfy what we're getting. Wow. You know what I mean? That's like the tables have turned for the first time ever. Yeah. You know, so I'm very interested in our prospects right now.
So you think with all those technological advancements that are happening, which there's all the time, there's more things happening. I mean, even things like AI to go through data, that you think that could be the key?
Yeah, I think technology will be the key because up until this point, it's essentially been, you need a bullet. Essentially, to bring one of these things, or a logging truck to bring one down, or something on the way to work, and that still stands, you know. But most hunters, as living in the Pacific Northwest, I'm sure you know, you more than fair share of hunters. They aren't the hillbillies shooting up the countryside. You know what I mean? The number one rule of hunting is you never pull the trigger unless you know exactly what it is you're looking at and you're going to shoot. And when most sightings last about 2 to 3 seconds, are you so sure that 2 or 3 seconds gives you enough information to kill that thing? Because it's a gray area whether you're allowed to kill a Sasquatch or not. In the law, it's a gray area. But it is 100% illegal to kill a jackass in a monkey suit.
Right. Fair enough. That is. All right, there we go. So again, there's our live shot of Mount Hood. Huge thank you to Cliff Barackman. I do want to correct something at the beginning. I messed up where the location is. It's where Highway 26 and Highway 212 meet. Just Google North American Bigfoot Center and you will see exactly that. Huge thank you to Cliff for letting us come out there and check that out. He gave us that rapid tour there, which we asked for, so I appreciate his understanding on that, but you could seriously spend hours there. Also, thank you to Emmett and Jack, our team here for the digital team here for Fox 12 Now, and Emmett's hard work there on editing that together. Really appreciate that. And for all of you watching, again, this is Fox 12 Now. We cover a wide range of topics. This place is fascinating. This is right here in the Northwest, easily accessible for everybody to go check out. And that's one of the things we're trying to do. You know, we cover so many different topics on this show, whether it's very serious governmental topics, serious stories, breaking news, and sometimes we talk about places that you can go check out. And we want to do some more exploring around here as well. So if you have an idea of a good place for us to go out and check out, please send me an email. fox12now@kptv.com. That's fox12now@kptv.com. Let me know where that is, and we'll come out and, you know, maybe we can go out and take a look, just like we did there with the North American Bigfoot Center. Again, huge thank you to Cliff. Thanks everybody watching. So we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back at 1:30, so whatever platform you're watching on. If you're watching live, again, we are live here every weekday. You can join me again. We'll be talking to Eric Goranson from Around the House Northwest. If you're watching right now, you know it's pretty nice outside. We're getting a little stretch here of some really nice weather, which means everybody's starting to think about spring cleaning. He's got some healthy tips and tricks for you on how to do that, plus a preview of this week's episode of Around the House Northwest. So join us right back here at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We'll sign off right now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.